So here I am, standing outside the parking lot at South Point on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, ditching all my classes and looking down on my phone every once in a while. How on earth did I manage to get to this point in life? Now, before your mind rushes to judge what brings me to South Point on a Tuesday afternoon, I should preface by saying my stories usually take quite unpredictable turns. You see, let's backtrack to a few days earlier when I was walking down Able Quad, rushing to another mundane econ lecture that I was going to sit through and try to pick up a staring contest with the next potential mating partner out there. On my way to class that day, my phone rings. The number looks unfamiliar. My heart flutters. Could it be one of the cute lacrosse boys I spent the past few months tutoring finally asking me out on a date? I always knew that job would pay off. Or maybe it's one of the cute twins from SNU who got my digits from the mixer last night. I pick up the phone. Hello, is this Catherine? Yes, speaking. How are you? This is Shania O'Neill from the North Carolina Department of Health. We've recently been notified of your STI test results and found you are diagnosed positive for syphilis. As part of state protocol, we're required to reach out and arrange a meeting with you somewhere in private. Are you free to come in tomorrow afternoon? My heart starts pounding. Of all the ways to find out I contracted syphilis, why did it have to be a phone call from a complete stranger? Why didn't I just be a decent human being and actually check the 1,500 unopened emails piling up in my inbox? At this point, it was too late to beat myself up over it. I was already standing outside South Point, drenching wet under the rain, waiting for that call. The instructions given to me were to wait outside in the parking lot. I wasn't even sure the call came from someone in the Department of Health. But who else would know I tested positive for syphilis 2 days ago? What is going to happen? Why do they want to meet with me? Jesus Christ, I'm not even an American citizen. Was I going to get sent home? I pull out my phone for a few seconds to distract myself. Given that this was the result of the first STI test I'd ever taken, I started contemplating how long I had syphilis for. The scary thing about these STIs is that they can lie dormant within you for years. You can go on 4 years never knowing when you contracted it or where or from whom. No symptoms whatsoever. I mean, God bless all those souls who walk around campus trying to spread sex positivity because my sexual education classes from my rural high school mainly talked about the importance of making sure the grave sin of lust does not corrupt our souls, lest we become slaves of our own desires. But goddammit, a woman's got needs. I am not about to drop $100+ on a comforter when I could just swipe through my phone and summon a hunk to wrap his arms around me and keep me warm through the night. That's right, gentlemen. You think you're the only ones playing us, but two can play at that game. Looking back on all these talks of sex positivity, I was aware of different ways to protect against sexually transmitted illness. But all these dialogues fell short on one important aspect: how to deal with your emotions once you receive that positive diagnosis. What do you do about it? How do you look yourself in the mirror and still carry on accepting yourself as a sexually liberated woman, but try to stop the thoughts in your head telling you you are impure, that all this slutting around has gone too far and this is God's way of telling you? When you haven't even reached 20 yet, you think that you're invincible and that there's no way you'd ever get with someone around Duke who could give you an STI. But boy, was I wrong. When we empower each other to engage in behavior that can be risky for our health, we need to educate each other not only how to mitigate around these risks, but around the actions to take once we receive that positive diagnosis. Judge me all you want, but at that point, I was not brave enough to notify my sexual partners. I was too anxious trying to come to terms with my status by myself, never mind telling someone who I could barely hold a proper 30-minute interaction with that doesn't involve physical contact. I guess I was nervous about everyone talking about it. I was fretting over the fact that it could limit my dating pool down the line, and I couldn't afford that. Selfish as it may seem, I still had 2 years left at Duke, and I wanted to make the most out of it. I couldn't afford letting the stigma, perpetuated by people's ignorance of STIs, ruin my chances. You see, when it comes to HIV and syphilis specifically, it stays with you for the rest of your life. You can seek treatment for both, and after a period of time, they become untransmittable, meaning that after 3 months of painful penicillin shots that drained a hefty $350 copay from my bank account, I could have sex with anyone again, not fearing whether or not I'll transmit the STI. but I would forever be left with the syphilis antibodies that will show up positive on every syphilis test I take from this moment on. After standing outside in the rain for 20 minutes, my phone rings and I hop in the public worker's car. Shania from the Department of Health gave me a kind smile and asked how I was. She asked about my age, what I studied at Duke, what I dreamed to do with my life. As sketchy as the situation may have been, I actually felt comfortable in Shania's presence as she gave me a rundown on the situation. Thankfully, I would not get kicked out of the country. The Department of Health organizes these routine meetings with individuals diagnosed with HIV and syphilis to inform us about the prognosis and the treatment options available. And the best part? They reach out to your sexual partners to inform them that someone with whom you've had sexual intercourse with in the past has recently tested positive for an STI and you should get tested. With my anonymity protected, I unlocked my phone and gave her the numbers and locations of every guy I got with. Girl, you should have seen the look on her face as she was jotting down these notes because she sure wasn't expecting that kind of body count from a 20-year-old. All right, Catherine, listen up. We'll make sure to reach out to all the ones in the U.S., but unfortunately we won't be able to reach out to the ones in Paris, London, Rome, Prague, Mexico, or Argentina. At that point, I doubted I would run into those guys again in my life. Coming out more confident and affirmed, I told her, I got this. And to my surprise, they did not react as badly as I imagined it would turn out. I guess for the most part, people are not going to be that big of a dick for you mounting up the courage and informing them about something that needs to get checked and treated. At least they'd never have to sit there one day, like I did, wondering who could have possibly given it to them. In the end, Shania was nice enough to drive me back to campus to catch the end of my classes. As she was dropping me off, she looked at me and said, Hey, kiddo, you're lovely and sweet. Don't think you're stupid for catching syphilis. Now you got at least one more thing in common with Napoleon.